welcome to the 89th episode of the Boundless Business Podcast. I got the amazing Justine, Larissa, and Nico here. Team, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good.
It's weird to think that it's Friday, so it's like wow, it's this week. But we have a very interesting topic today, one that's kind of like near and dear to my heart because kind of what I've been focusing on the last couple weeks, months. Justine, what is this amazing topic?
Yeah, so today we're going to help our audience kind of learn how to navigate a call that helps them book an estimate. So, once they get the lead on the phone, how to navigate that whole process and how to kind of prepare for that phone call. Yeah, and just some tips and tricks. So, if you guys are ready, I can ask my first question. So let's start with before the call. What info do you need from a lead before hopping on a call with them?
Absolutely.
Well,
So,
you.
go for Larissa.
Oh,
You
I
both
was
got
just gonna
excited.
say, well,
Go.
you definitely need their basic information, meaning you need their basic contact information at the very least. So that's definitely the first thing you need to know before jumping on a call. Other things you just might want to have available would be, I personally like to use like a calendar booking software or something that just makes it really easy to find available times. Um, and those are the only two things I think you need.
I'll just kind of push back. You're gonna need to know, are they a referral or are they from some type of advertising, right? So referrals obviously are gonna go a whole different conversation route than someone that is cold, maybe through a flyer that you hung up or an ad or something like that. So I want to know where they came from because that's going to change the way that I go about connecting with them, building rapport, and then moving them into kind of the traditional sales process, right? So for me, yes, I need to know their name, phone number, email. That's really all I need, and then where they came from.
And then how much prep work goes into kind of making sure that they answer when you do call them? Like, what are some things that you're doing to ensure that they're going to answer when you call? And follow-up question to that, what message do you leave if they don't answer your call?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, at the end of the day, every one of us is super busy, right? Whether you own a company or you work for a landscaping company, or you are the person inquiring about, let's say, artificial turf or lights or whatever that is, you are busy, right? And life always seems to happen at the most inconvenient time. So, what I like to do is, if a lead comes in, let's say between you know 8 to 6 or something like that, I want to be on the call with them as soon as possible, right? If they come in at 9, I want someone from our team to contact them within 5-10 minutes, at least get a text out and start the initial conversation as soon as possible, right? If if that's the case, that's amazing because you already shorten up that the rate of people falling off and never contacting you again. Now, let's say that they came in from a referral. One of the sneaky hacks that I like to do is put that referral and the person who referred them into a group chat, because once there's like some public accountability with someone else, it's harder to let that other person down, right? So you're kind of like guilting them into chatting with you. But what was your follow up question? Because I got really obsessed with that other tip because it works so well.
What's your go-to voicemail?
Um, this is probably not going like I'd be very uh, I would test the data with what I'm going to say because like it works really well for us, but again we sell to businesses, so um, to a consumer you might have to tweak this. But what I like to say is, hey John, saw that I had a question about your turf, right? And then I ended there. Because even if you repeat the number, most people just see the number come back. Or you could say, hey John, I had a question about your turf. This is Nico. Call me back at this number. Now, if someone inquired about it, I would actually not even leave a voicemail the very first time. I would send a text because depending on what type of phone they have, if it's an iPhone or Android, like sometimes the messages when you leave a voicemail, it doesn't like pick up every word, right? So then you have this like because people are going to read the text a lot more than listen to a voicemail, so they might see this like kind of gibberish. So what I like to do is I like to get ahead of it, and I just like to send them a text to ask if this is that person, and that's all I do, right? Now, people like my fiance don't like that, so again, you got to test this out, but that's what I like to do. Is I don't actually like to leave a voicemail the very first time unless it's something pre-recorded and I know it's going to come out exactly with the message on the other side that I want. I don't know, Larissa, you might have other feelings towards that, but I like to send texts.
I mean, I do both, if I'm honest. So I leave a voicemail and then I follow up with a text. So, but normally the voicemail I leave is something really simple, basically just saying like, "Hey, saw you were looking for some turf. I think we could help with that. Call me back at this number. This is Larissa from company." And then I would text them and just basically say like, "Hey, just left you a voicemail. Let me know a few times this week that would work for you to that would work for us to come by." And basically, my follow-up text just tries to move the conversation to the next step. That's usually what I. That's yeah. That's normally what I do. I had to think about it for a sec.
Sweet. So once you get someone on the phone with you, what is your process from taking them all the way to a booked estimate? What are some tips and tricks you have for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of scripts out there. There's the closer framework. There is a closer framework is a lot more for like the sales side of it, but like you want to clarify the problem. Like closer is a really well-known acronym for it. But my basis is I'm trying to understand, one, is this person still interested in the service that they came in for? Or has that changed, for instance? Maybe you came in for artificial turf, but you want turf, pavers, and lighting now. Like I want to understand what problem are we solving for, right? If they just want a backyard transformation, or they just bought a house and want to make it their dream home, whatever that is, I'm trying to clarify exactly the point on like why we're having this conversation. Because candidly, if they're like, oh, I'm just kind of like shopping around, or like I just want to learn more, I'm going to take that into a lot smaller of a conversation because I don't want to waste their time or my time. And depending if they're a referral, I want to establish the relationship with that person. So let's say it was their neighbor that referred them to us. I want to bring up that neighbor, build trust, right? In both of these conversations, I'm building trust, but I want to build trust with them and figure out what did you like about the person's job and what did you not like. So I can really quickly figure out, again, if they're like, oh, I just want to make it look like John's house. Well, John paid us $25,000 to do this. It's awesome. But like, what's the most important things that he did? Because I will use that for my notes later on. So once I understand like why we're having this conversation, then I move into the qualification-based questions. I want to figure out, do you have a high-level timeline when you want to get this done? How urgent is it? Do you have other bids? What are those bids? And then I want to figure out like how kind of like how serious are you? Because like some people are just price shopping. That's totally fine, right? If you have Google Maps, you can pull up their backyard. For turf, for instance, you can quickly imagine it. Or if they send you pictures, you can kind of give a high level thing saying, hey, it's going to cost between $0 and $25,000. That's kind of what like I'm hearing. And people always laugh at the zero because that means we're not going to work together on this. So if someone's price shopping, usually I want to go that route and kind of give them I don't want to go out there and waste time with someone that they were never going to spend that amount of money. I want to figure out exactly where their price point and their budget lies with this and see if I'm even comparable to what they're thinking. Now with a referral, it's going to go a whole different route. Again, once I know the dream, then I can piece it out, figure out which ones are more important. And then with them, more than likely, they already know the pricing because the other person probably told them how much it costs. And then I just kind of like to be straightforward, like, so John's, was between $20,000 and $25,000. Was that the budget that you were thinking? No, it was more 15. Okay. Well, based on what I'm hearing, I would cut out this and this. Now, I can't make any promises, but I can schedule an estimate. And that's the next phase. Once you have the qualification-based questions taken care of, then you want to move them to an estimate where you can come out, shake their hand, be on premise with them, help them design what they want, and close the deal. Very few deals, unless it's like permanent lighting or something like that, get closed on the phone, especially when you're thinking about $5, $10, $20, $30, $100,000 projects. Very few of those will happen. out in on a call, rather it'll happen out in the field.
And a lot of business owners might be thinking like, oh, I'm way too busy to make all of these phone calls and I just don't have the time during the day to do these, make all of these calls. What help can you give to them and what advice do you have for them?
Like the first thing I would say is like 100%. It's a lot of work, but new business is the lifeblood. New business is the lifeblood of most organizations. Now, if you have a great referral program, you've been around for 10, 20, 30 years, and you don't even need to worry about new business, then I would say this is not the pod for you, because our podcast is just focused on growth. Now, if you're like the vast majority of the people we talk to, the phone and reception is like one of the biggest bottlenecks that you have, because you might only have someone that works 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 and not weekends or nights. So one of the biggest things that we recommend is having some type of automation and software that can help take the initial screening questions off the person's plate actually having the calls. So when you do call them, you have context with the person on the other line. That's the first thing. Second thing is pick up the phone. I know it sounds silly, but there are only so many hours in the day and only so many tasks that you can get done. I would audit where the time is being spent, because for us and the people we work with, it's about growing our landscaping businesses, right? So prioritizing and making sure that we get back to leads as soon as possible, whether that's a text, email, phone call, and repeatedly, for the first 5, 10, 15 days reaching out to them. That's where the ones who follow up the most are going to be the ones that get the most clients. It's just that direct correlation between that. Unless you're doing something for free, then you can take your time. People will be more patient, but we run businesses here. So the biggest thing that I would recommend is like do a whole shift, like make this a priority, because if you don't, then you're not going to make it. And there's more things inside of that. Like, do you have scripts? Does your team know what to say? Do they know the promos happening? Do they know exactly how to follow up? Do they use automation to track people? Do they have a CRM to keep track of contracts and leads and sources? Like, there's so much more back office stuff that goes into it. Making that big switch to make this a priority is imperative. Because if we don't have more leads, we don't have more estimates, we don't have more jobs, we have to let people go.
Wait, well, is there anything that we missed or that you wanted to cover and we didn't yet before we end it off?
The biggest thing I would say is just don't be afraid of jumping on the phone. And also just remember, normally when you're just booking an estimate, don't put all the pressure on yourself thinking like this is a sales call, because it's not. Whoever's going out and actually going to the property itself is going to be like making the final call on everything. So use this basically as just an opportunity to think about it as like just getting to know your new prospective clients. And it's not even like worrying about closing them. It's not anything like that. You're basically just trying to figure out basically what are they looking for and when is a time you guys can connect to go over this in more depth.
Yeah.
That's basically all you're doing. So I would just say like don't stress too much about it, in terms of like the phone can be really scary and calling people can be really scary. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is just don't get too intimidated by that particular aspect of it.
Yeah, it's a great thing, because sometimes you forget about that. Some people aren't on the phones 24/7, and that's okay. I'll tell everyone here what I tell our closers to do. Right? They don't know your script. They don't know. So if you mess up, it's okay. Just figure out what you need to know. Just get it done. It's not, your first couple are not going to be as great as your 100th call. And the second thing is, remember that most of these people inquired about your services. So don't feel bad about following up. Like, if Larissa had if I had a check for Larissa for $10,000, do you think that she would be mad at me for following up so much to get her that $10,000? Probably not. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Larissa, I don't want to speak for her, but these people want a service. They want something done, and don't look at follow up as you're annoying them. Looking at it that you're being persistently helpful, because Most of the time, people don't know what they want, or they don't know what the cost is, or the process, or anything like that. They need someone like you to help guide them. And yes, you should get compensated for that and bringing their dreams to life in regards to their yard. Um, so just know that you're being helpful and you're following up because you want to be helpful. But I think
Well,
that's it. Team, this
yeah.
was a great podcast. If you guys have any questions for any of us, let us know at nicogetbalancedmedia.com. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.